Aloha and welcome to Live at the Legislature. I'm Jill Kuramoto. Every week we sit down with Hawaii State Senators to talk about the events and the issues happening here at the Capitol. And today joining us we have Senator Rosalind Baker, who represents District 6, South and West Maui. She's also the chair of the Senate Committee on Commerce, Consumer Protection, and Health. And we also have Senator Laura Thielen. Senator Thielen represents District 25, which encompasses Kailua, Waimanalo, all the way to Hawaii Kai. And both of these distinguished senators serve on the Women's Legislative Caucus, which is a bipartisan organization made up of women legislators of both the House and Senate. And they support an agenda designed to enhance the lives of women, children, and families. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining us. Now, there's a number of issues that are moving through the legislature as we speak, and they are important issues such as health care, domestic violence, and wage inequality. We have just a short time, so let's talk about a few of them. Let's start with health care. And Senate Bill 2340, I know, ensures certain benefits of the Federal Affordable Care Act, which makes sure that it will stay intact under Hawaii state law. Explain to me why this bill is so important.
It's important because it keeps in place some very important protections, particularly for women and families. One is to make sure that there is no gender inequality in health insurance. Before the Affordable Care Act, it was quite common for women's health to cost more than men's health from an insurance standpoint. And so they didn't get reimbursed as well, and they really weren't covered as well. So this would make sure that there is that equity for insurance. The other thing that's very important is to be able to keep your children on your own plan up until age 26. One of the reasons that we get some skews in insurance rates is we have older, sicker people having insurance and not younger, healthier ones. So this gets more young people into the health insurance market, helps us bring the cost of the rates down, and also gets them the health care that they need so that they're not going without. So those are two really important areas. The other one is the prohibition against not covering pre-existing illnesses. I'm a cancer survivor, so I would be considered to have a pre-existing illness, even though my cancer was dealt with some 40 years ago. But this way, somebody who has an ongoing issue, whether it's diabetes or some other chronic condition, cannot be discriminated against because they have that pre-existing. So they'll be able to get health insurance at a reasonable rate and not have that go against them.
Well, let's talk about another bill. In terms of reducing violence against women, there is a backlog on sexual assault kits, also known as rape kits, and that's a problem across the state and across the country. So SB 2345 addresses this issue by creating a response team to oversee how these kits are tracked and processed. Explain to me why you think this might be an effort to actually move along these kits faster as far as their processing and the reporting.
Well, we have two women reporters in Cleveland actually to thank about uncovering the fact that nationwide there was a huge backlog of these evidence kits. And what these are forensic evidence, DNA evidence after somebody has been sexually assaulted. They'll go to a hospital or a treatment facility. They'll take evidence and they'll store it, and that way they'll have the DNA of the perpetrator of the act. In many jurisdictions, they had thousands and thousands of these kits that were in storage, in some cases being destroyed and never being tested. When this became uncovered in Cleveland and they started doing the testing, what they uncovered were that there were serial offenders that were attacking women. And for years, everybody thought that offenders had a certain method of operation. They would only attack women that they knew, or they would only attack women they didn't know. And what they found out with these serial offenders is they were attacking women across the spectrum. And so they were able to start to prosecute and target and jail these serial offenders and hopefully over time reduce the sex assault. So in Hawaii, when we did explain this to the different jurisdictions, they did agree to test, but what we're trying to do this year is we don't want to see a backlog pile up again in the future. You know, if the people who are testing now retire and new people come in and they just say, oh, it's not that important. So we need to put these standards into state law, standards about how evidence kits are kept in storage, how people are notified when they are tested, what is done with the evidence, and how it's shared between the different jurisdictions around the state, because we want to, again, target serial offenders and reduce the sexual assault that does happen. Unfortunately, it's very common. University of Hawaii has done a study on all 10 campuses across the state, and the number of people there who said that they have been victims of assault or domestic violence, between 10 and 20% of the students on every campus on all the islands across the state. So it's far too common, and we really do need to reduce the violence against women.
It is a problem, and it also ensures that there is going to be a report to the legislature as well.
Yes.
To help
Yes.
with accountability, correct?
Correct.
All right, well, let's just...
And public transparency. So it's not
Absolutely.
just accountability to us, it's something then that every person can have access to, and you can see how your jurisdiction is doing in comparison to others.
Okay. All right, well, let's talk about women and the workplace. And Senate Bill 2351 would prohibit prospective employers to ask about applicants' wage history or salary. So, and we know statistically and historically women have been paid
Yes.
less than men. And so how is this going to address that issue?
Well, we've got to look at all the various tools that we have at our disposal, and this is one, we think, that it will focus on not what the previous salary was, but what the qualifications, what the abilities are, and looking forward. Because if you're stuck in a low-wage job, you may have skills that are far beyond that. You're not being paid for your skills. So if people are focusing on what your employment history is, it's not going to give you the opportunity to really talk about your abilities and what your qualifications are and how you could actually benefit that company.
I think the other thing we want to point out is we're trying to get this bill through. Some people say that the pay inequity is just because of the jobs that women pick, but they've done statistics and they've looked at for every type of career, women are paid less than men. For every education level, women are paid less than men. For every ethnic group, women are paid less than men. And for every age group, women are paid less than men. So it's not just a matter of women picking certain jobs, it's even when you have people within the same career path that there's this disparity. So we need to find ways to be able to have leveled the playing field. And it's something that's not going to come at the expense of men. It's actually going to help everybody because it's going to raise the pay for women, their families, everyone there. It's going to help everyone.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here. And these bills are actually headed to the Senate Committee on Ways and Means for further consideration, so stay tuned. Again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching Live at the Legislature. We'll see you next week.